Hello and welcome to my virtual space in the world. I'm Ashley, and today I just wanted to speak a little bit about bullying and compassion and how we can cultivate compassion, how we can teach our children to deal with bullies, how to handle them, how to handle their own emotional reactions to bullying, how to teach them to meet bullying with compassion rather than shutting themselves off or abandoning parts of themselves or thinking less of themselves. um, and I experienced bullying as a child, and so now I feel like it's something that I came here to speak up about and to um, kind of give my perspective on it, because I know that there's lots of children that get bullied every single day, and they're not taught how to deal with their emotions. And there is a lot of highly sensitive children. And what I mean by that is um, they're very in tune to the energy around them, um, and they're like sponges, and so they absorb a lot of people's energies. Like I was like that as a child, but I didn't know. I didn't know I was highly sensitive at all, because emotional intelligence isn't something that we necessarily honor in our culture, in our society. Our intelligence comes from like education, and it's something. One thing that our education system is severely lacking is teaching children how to handle their emotions, teaching them how to have peace. We don't teach our children that at all. And there's a lot of children, not just in schools, but in homes. And if you notice that children that do bully are probably being bullied at home, and they learn how to bully. Their behavior is learned, and so we have to teach our children and literally sit down and have a discussion with them and letting them know that and explaining to them um, that even though, because what would happen for me is I was overweight as a child, and actually, what really happens with children that are highly sensitive is they tend to eat emotionally as a way to nurture themselves, as a way to comfort themselves from the comfort they're not getting from their caretakers, because maybe their caretakers are the same exact way and didn't know how to take care of themselves, and so now they're dependent on something to make them feel like happy or relaxed or at peace, because they're going through a lot of chaos in their mind. So a lot of people that are highly emotional, like highly sensitive and emotionally intelligent, if they don't take very good care of their minds and their bodies, then they will suffer like from depression and anxiety, or from like aches and pains or like chronic illnesses, like just like inflammation and um, tension in the body and just like chronic pain. So it's really important to teach these people because we're so focused, especially on our education system, on the physical aspect of education, but not on like the spiritual aspect or the emotional aspect. It's not even spiritual; it's emotional, and we are emotionally intelligent beings, and we've kind of disregarded this aspect of ourselves, along with the aspect of play and pleasure and fun. They take the recess out of school at a certain age, like because you're a certain age, you can't go outside and play, but our children need that. Our teenagers need that probably even more than our adults, because our teenagers are going through so much hormonally, they're going through so much mentally, they're going through so much emotionally. They're finding their place in the world, um, and they can be easily persuaded. Or what happens is they just learn how to conform and they learn to hide parts of themselves as a way to make other people like them. Because as teenagers, as children, we want to be liked. We want to feel that sense of community. Um, and what's even harder is children that aren't getting that at home, and then they struggle to receive it at school too. And this just takes a toll on people, their self-esteem. Really, a lot of people's self-esteem and confidence, and believing that they're worthy of love, believing that they're worthy of kindness, believing that they're worthy of peace, and that they're allowed to feel those things and pleasure and fun and joy. But when we take that away, then we're like teaching our children that it's not okay. That um, and then what happens is a lot of these people that are highly sensitive, they tend to form addictions, honestly. And that's why a lot, they just form a lot of addictions. So, like self-destructive behavior, not only as a way to like act out and get the attention that they're desperately seeking, but as a way to cope. What we have to see is that a lot of children are forming addictions as a way to just be able to adjust to the world and to their highly sensitive nature. And so, and this world doesn't really, I mean, if you can look at the world, take off your glasses and kind of look at what the things that are happening, it's if you dig beneath the surface of what's happening, you can really feel the energies. And when you're highly sensitive, you can feel the energies of the world. You feel the energies of the animals. You feel the energies of the earth. You feel the energies of the collective, which means everybody in this world and how they're feeling. And so, what we need to learn and teach, and what we need to learn as highly sensitive beings, and what we need to teach our children that are highly sensitive, is how to become very intimate with their own emotions, how to really be true to who they are, and how to find that anchor within themselves so that they can handle bullying, so that they can handle being different, because a lot of children are going to be different, especially as times change and the paradigm shifts, and as we're just moving forward into a new direction. And there are a lot of souls that are incarnating, especially children, especially the next generation, because they're going to be our leaders. And if we want them to be strong-minded and strong-willed leaders, then we have to learn how to become that ourselves so that we can teach them. Otherwise, they're never going to learn, right? Just like parents, we teach our children, and a lot of parents struggle to see that their children are just a reflection of them. So the behavior that they don't really necessarily like in their children, the behavior that makes them feel unpleasant or embarrassed or judged, are really just things within themselves that they haven't accepted. And we tend to project this onto our children. Don't feel this way. Don't cry in public. Don't be naughty. Don't be bad. Don't be doing this here because this person doesn't like this. And we cut off our children's emotional guidance system, and their emotional guidance system is literally what's helping them survive here on earth. And what happens over time is we form an ego. We become very logical. We become very practical. We become very analytical because it's what we're taught from a very young age, is to only focus on what we're seeing here in the physical world, only what we can taste, only what we can smell, only that is what we should be paying attention to, but not like our desires and not our emotions and our feelings. Those kind of come like second, when really they should be how we're living, as a way to guide us through life rather than dismissing them. And you can kind of see that in our culture and our society where women and children have been kind of dismissed. And that's a part of us, our innocence and our emotions. And with those together, it creates a very strong-minded and open-hearted person. And I think that's what we need more than ever on this planet. I don't think that we can fight fire with fire. And so it's not about closing ourselves off. And I like that we can look at like the president today and see that it's a huge example of wanting to build a wall to keep other people out. We kind of do this with our hearts, and it's kind of just reflecting to us, and a lot of us have shut our hearts down. We've built walls, and more than anything, people want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to feel connected, they want to feel unified. And it's just funny because a wall signifies division. And when we get in tune with our souls, when we get in tune with our emotions, we recognize that we're all one, we're all the same. And that it's just our mind that it's like our projections of the world that makes us unique and different. How we all see the world is different, and that's what makes us unique. But a lot of our society teaches us to conform and to be liked and accepted by other people. And in order to do that, we're taught to betray ourselves over and over and over again. And what this teaches us, what happens when we do that, is we learn how to not trust ourselves anymore because we're disconnected from our core values. We're disconnected from our core, from our center, from our soul. And so we don't trust our own feelings to guide us. And when we're disconnected from that place of us, we kind of veer off our path, and we're kind of searching for all that glitters that is gold and the easy way out. And, like our mind can be easily deceived by our senses and by our like society and the things that we consume every single day. And that means like the things you eat, the things you watch, the things you hear, the things you see. All of it has a great impact on how you perceive the world. And if you're constantly filling yourself with hatred or with, toxic food or toxic people or toxic habits, toxic substances, then you're just creating like toxicity within your body. And you can see this will reflect outwardly in the world, with pollution and like climate change and just the war that's going on. And a lot of our children these days, they've only ever known war. I know even for myself, I know we've been at war for like what is it, 20 years now? And that's kind of like, so most people don't know what it's like, um, to feel at peace. And I feel like we create all this toxicity within ourselves, and we're at war within ourselves, and that war will be reflected externally in mass shootings. I mean, our country has more mass shootings than any country ever. It's a lot of people don't feel safe sending their children to school. There's all sorts of things. There's the fires burning things down, and there's natural disasters. And this is a reflection of how most of us, how the collective, a majority of the humans on Earth right now are feeling within themselves, are feeling very disconnected because we're disconnected from our soul, like I said. And so it's creating this battle between the heart and the mind. And then when we have trouble trusting ourselves and trusting our own feelings, when we struggle to trust other people. And this just creates a very unpleasant feeling within yourself. So, really, I think it's very important that we should be teaching our children how to cultivate peace. I think Marianne Williamson, I love her. I think she has this quote that says, um, peace is not the absence of war, war is the absence of peace. And so, by cultivating peace, that will reflect outward, and we'll begin to see more peaceful resolutions. We'll begin to see peace within countries. We'll be able to see peace within our homes. So many children, I think also Marianne Williamson, her campaign is all about children. So I highly recommend, if you have not checked her out, or if you don't know her name, Google her, read her information. Follow her on Instagram. Some of the videos like when she speaks, I can just feel the presence of God speaking through her. And so it's 11:11. I just have to mention that in case you're receiving synchronicities. And that caught my eye, especially with her. And yeah, follow her on Instagram, and I just feel the energy of God speaking through her. So you can see kind of I didn't really mean for this to go this way, but I guess it's going that way because I think it's really important, like education. And it's like the energy of politics, not necessarily what our politics has kind of turned into in like the culture of politics, but like energetic politics, and seeing it from an energy state. And I can sense when I hear like Donald Trump speak, for example, I can feel the fear when he speaks. Like I can tell his power comes from using fear, whereas when I listen to Marianne speak, I feel her power is coming from love, from like this deep source within her. And the things she says, I understand them from this level, as where I hear other politicians speak, and it's very logical, it's very rigid. But whereas she speaks, it's more fluid, and it's more, I'm more receptive to it from an energetic state. Like I want to know more. Because it feels safe, because she's creating a safe energy. And I think that's really important. We have to teach our children how to feel safe within them. And another reason I love her is because she's for mindfulness in schools. And more than anything, our children need to be taught how to have peace of mind, because with technology the way it is, and it's going to be flourishing. Technology is awesome. The next generation of children are going to be like tech savvy, and they're going to be like mind blowing, like they're just very intelligent in that aspect, because we're shifting into a different paradigm and a different kind of way of living. And in order to keep up with this technology, because we're not machines, that's something we have to remember, is we are not machines. We need to rest. And our culture and our society right now, as much as I love social media, and this is how I'm able to interact with you right now, so I give thanks for it almost every day. Sometimes I forget, and I think we take it for granted a lot. But another thing we need to be teaching our children is how to be grateful for the things that they do have, and how to, like I said, just be mindful in the moment, and how to practice kindness and compassion, and how to meditate on that. Because when children feel kindness and compassion towards themselves, and they learn how to cultivate that energy within themselves so that they are always at peace, they are highly intelligent, because it's purity. And so source or God or the divine is able to clearly communicate with them, because they're connected to their hearts. They haven't quite been distorted in their mind yet. So I think it's very important in our school system that we preserve children's minds, instead of like constantly just bombarding them with information for like 40 minutes for 8 hours a day. That's just, for me, it's like, I know I didn't learn that way, and it was very hard for me to learn. And I know that I struggled to comprehend things and focus mentally, because my mind was full of anxiety. It was full of chaos, and so we don't recognize that we need to be helping children cultivate the energy of peace and relaxation and presence, so that when they're in the classroom, they are present. They are listening to you. They are hearing you. They are absorbing your information. They're not somewhere in their mind. They're not in the past thinking about maybe they're going to, what happened when they got in trouble last week, or, or in the future when they may get yelled at by their parents, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like learning how to incorporate these things into the school program as a way to help children to be more focused in the classroom, to be more attentive in the classroom, to be more involved, to feel more confident in the classroom. Because it's not that our education system isn't great, it is. It's just, it has no depth, it's not balanced enough. And I think that's what we came here to do. In my opinion, that's part of my mission, is learning how to restore balance. And we restore balance within our own self. So when we balance our mind and our logic with our emotions, we feel a lot more grounded. We feel a lot more centered. We feel a lot more connected. We feel a lot more secure. And it's really important to feel secure within yourself, to feel safe within yourself, because then you give that energy to other people too. And it just calls in stability in the physical world. Like, you just call in things that align with the feeling that you're generating. And it really helps children feel stable within themselves. So, okay, for an example, I'm going to use my own personal example, because this happened to me as a child. I was an overweight child. And so I did get made fun of for being overweight. And I remember, I don't know, I was probably like 9 or 10, maybe that. Like, I came home from school, and I don't know, I don't even remember the exact thing that maybe was said or why I was having a bad day. All I knew is I was having a bad day. I was feeling very sad. Or maybe lonely and just disconnected or rejected, whatever it was. But I came home and I ate a brand new, freshly opened, a whole thing of cottage cheese. I mean, I ate the whole thing without even recognizing it while sitting in front of the TV. My parents didn't know that the reason I was eating a whole thing of cottage cheese was because I was repressing my emotions. Because this is what happens. Maybe I got, made fun of or mocked or ridiculed in that moment. And because I didn't want to be rejected even further or humiliated, and what it did, it would evoke emotion in me. So I might have wanted to cry in that moment that person maybe said something to me or did something to me. And I didn't allow myself to, because I didn't want to be made fun of. I didn't want to be ridiculed or judged, and it's challenging to be a child when you're trying to make friends, and, you're just trying to be liked, and that's the whole idea. But so I repressed that emotion. I didn't allow myself to cry in that moment that I wanted to. And so I held it in, and you hold it in your body, and this creates so much tension in your body. And instead of going home and like feeling it or expressing it to my mom, or, asking for a hug or whatever the case may be, I just suppressed it. And then I went and ate a whole thing of cottage cheese. And I laugh now, but I was doing it because I was repressing my emotions, because I didn't know how to handle them. I didn't know how to deal with them in a healthy way. Whereas like now I know how to write or to turn it into creation. And that's one thing that we're severely lacking also, is creativity and creative expression and authentic expression, allowing our children to express themselves with their clothes, allowing them to express themselves with their hair or their makeup, or allowing them to express themselves with their words, with music, with dance, allowing them to creatively move this energy. Because I know that I have found such greater peace within myself, and greater acceptance and greater love for myself by being and expressing who I am, expressing my feelings. A lot of us have been taught to shame our feelings and to repress our feelings. And this is really, this really affects our health, like our physical health, because what will happen is we'll begin to get little signals from our body. Like I was saying, I would store that emotion in my body and I would become very tense. Although I didn't know that at the time, I know that now after doing a lot of research and healing my own self, and understanding the emotional guidance system and how our emotions affect our physical health, and knowing that when we begin to feel pain or aches in the body, that we're storing stagnant emotions. And so this can correlate into disease. I know I developed type 2 diabetes, and I was just struggling a lot with my weight. But as soon as I began to um, heal more of my emotional body, and I was extremely overweight, I it was healing. It was the healing of the emotions that actually healed my body. I did a lot of emotional healing where I literally would allow myself to cry for hours and just hold myself. Um, just to let it out because I had so much repressed. And it was like my body was big, and as I like let go of the emotions, it's like almost like I began to like shrink, And it had, I mean, yes, of course, I was doing things to help raise my vibration, like exercising and running and doing yoga and changing my diet and going vegetarian and drinking lots more water and cutting out pop and just doing those things for myself to help me as well. So of course, I lost weight because of those physical changes too, but most of it was done because of most of it happened, in my opinion, or felt more effortless because it was the emotional healing that was taking place, and that's what helped me feel great in my body. So it's really about learning how to handle our emotions. And so when we have strong emotions, or someone, for example, like I gave my example, or someone made me cry, you have to teach your children that you have to see that this person that hurt you is only hurting, that it has nothing to do with you, and to not take things personally. That's what we need to teach our children, that people are not doing things to hurt us intentionally or maliciously always. I mean, sometimes they probably are, but maybe it's probably a lot of it's done unconsciously. And so they don't realize that they're hurting people's feelings. There's this great saying that helps me get through a lot of things, and I think we should be saying it more often, but it's hurt people hurt people. So recognizing and telling our children to be really strong within themselves, and to, when somebody does that to you, to not dismiss your feelings, maybe go home and write about it, or turn it into art, or turn it into a activity like moving your body, however that looks like for you, whether it's through sports, whether it's through karate or dancing or whatever it is. Teaching our children how to release their emotions in that way. Maybe it's writing, and then um, teaching them that to have compassion towards these people. So recognizing that that person may be bullying at home, and kind of teach our children this and tell them, like, that person's probably going through a really hard time. They need your kindness more than ever. This doesn't mean we teach our children to betray themselves and to, to be walked all over and pushed around. But we teach them how to be strong within themselves, so that those things that people say to them don't hurt them. They don't change their idea of who they are and who they know they are. They don't change their perception or their self-image based off what somebody else perceives in them. Because what other people are perceiving in you, they're actually just perceiving within themselves, and they're projecting it onto you. And we need to teach our children that how people see you is a reflection of how they see themselves, and people can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. So if somebody doesn't think you're beautiful, it's probably because they don't believe that they're beautiful, and they have nobody telling them they're beautiful. So you have to tell. That's just an example. So like, if we have to be telling our children that we need to be compassionate towards these people, and not hold any resentment or anger towards them, but to see them as a gentle, to see them as the one that's hurting, rather than them being mean to you and they have some upper hand and they have the power over you and they can make you feel bad about yourself. You just see them as the one that's hurting, and you don't take it personally. Whether they continue to do it or not, it will never affect you. And teaching our children how to just be very emotionally and mentally strong, and how to see through the eyes of love rather than through the eyes of division or separation or hatred. And then what will happen is it will actually, that person that's like bullying is really probably just looking for love, in my opinion. When people are mean and they're bullying, they're looking for love. They're looking for kindness because they're probably not getting it. And that's how they're feeling within themselves. We have to teach our children that those people are hurting within themselves. When somebody tries to hurt you, they are hurting within themselves. And there's nothing we can do to help these. Well, there is something we can do to help them. We can just be loving and kind. This doesn't mean we go around dragging their name through the mud when people hurt us. It doesn't mean we go around talking about them or talking about them behind their back. It just means we let it go. And that's what being in the present moment and teaching mindfulness is about, is that we face emotions and then we move on, and we don't carry them with us, but we have to be willing to feel them in the moment. We have to be willing to process them in the moment. and then move on. And so you're not dragging things into the next moment or throughout the day. And sometimes you've noticed we drag these feelings on for years. These feelings get stuck into us for years, and maybe we have a lot of anger. And over time, that anger turns to hatred. And over time, that hatred turns to bitterness. And then you just become bitter. You're just a bitter person because you haven't allowed yourself to fully feel and express those emotions of anger, and allowing yourself to get it out of you, whether that be through exercise, through therapy, through running. And yeah, I just think that that's kind of my example of how we should be teaching children how to handle bullying and how to face bullying, not by like fighting fire with fire and like hurting people, but seeing them through the eyes of love and really teaching them, more importantly, how to be at peace within themselves, how to have compassion and kindness for themselves, because then they can flood the world with it. And children are massive little miracle workers. And if we trusted them more, if we gave them the credibility that they truly deserve, and if we treated them with the utmost respect, we would see a whole new generation of children. Because what's funny is we tend to think that that a lot of children these days are very disrespectful, but they learn how to be disrespectful. They weren't respected, and so they learn to be disrespectful. And it's really important to find that respect within yourself and teach yourself how to be treated with respect, so that we can, in return, teach our children how to do that, to respect themselves and then respect other people. Because I think that's what the world needs more of, is more respect, more love, more kindness, more compassion, more openness. And what happens when we actually allow ourselves to feel our emotions is that we keep our heart open and we're able to forgive people. We should be teaching our children forgiveness and how to forgive themselves and in return forgive other people, so that they can live a more peaceful life. We want our children to be living a more peaceful life, in my opinion. And the more our children feel at peace, the more they're allowed to creatively express themselves and the more freedom they feel. And when we collectively feel freedom, we liberate ourselves. So anyway, I hope this was helpful in some way. I hope if you're like struggling with bullying, or if you know that your children's struggling with bullying, or if you know your child's highly sensitive, but you're not sure really how to approach them, or how to care for them, just learn how to really take care of yourself and be with your own emotions. And whatever your children's, like if your children are going through a hard time and it makes you very sensitive and emotional, go through it with them, heal with them, be with them. If they evoke any emotion in you, just allow yourself to feel it and move through it and handle it. And maybe you do need to reach out and seek a counselor or seek a therapist or seek a healer. So if you are interested in all, I do like intuitive sessions where I would use like my spiritual guidance and my intuitive and my emotional intelligence to help you like navigate your own emotions as a way to find that peace within yourself, because I'm sure you're seeking peace as much as, we want our children to be seeking peace, and you deserve that. And that's something I didn't believe I deserved. And it's taken a long time to cultivate peace within myself. But overall, it's made me a healthier person. It's made me a happier person. It's made me a more strong-minded and emotionally willed person. And I've never felt healthier in my body. I've never felt like I feel like I'm thriving, whereas before I felt like I was only surviving. And we all deserve to feel that way. So if you need any help, you can definitely just follow me on Instagram, ashley.emig. I'll leave a link below, but you can book a session with me through the book button on my profile on Instagram. So I'll go ahead and leave that below. So if you want to check that out. And I really appreciate you listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'm sending you so much love.